Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another predictions video, and in today's video I'm going to be predicting the Gualtieri versus Falcao fight. If you're new around here though and you haven't subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you do like the video, and let's get straight into it. So, going into this fight, Gualtieri is 20-0-1 with 7 KOs, and Falcao is 30-0 with 20 KOs. This fight is for the vacant IBF World Middleweight title. Gualtieri's last fight was a win via unanimous decision versus Bevilacqua, and Falcao's last fight was a win via unanimous decision versus Rios. This is in Gualtieri's home country of Germany. Gualtieri's draw came versus Piqueiro in 2020. Also on this card is Oliha versus Alamos for the IBO World Middleweight title, in which I think Oliha will win via unanimous decision. He's the younger fighter. I think he's the one that's been fighting at the higher level. I know they are both coming off big victories, especially, to be fair, respect to Alamos. He is coming off a bigger victory himself, but I still think that Oliha will be able to edge the unanimous decision. I still don't believe it will be a stoppage though, but another good fight on this card. Going back to the other fight, Gualtieri, as a fighter, he will control the centre. He's patient, he imposes his size, he's got a confidence type of style, likes to keep at the end of his jab, can fight in close, and he's also very composed. What I like about the fact of his confidence style, he will drop his hands and kind of shoot from the hip, and shoot his jab from the hip. Obviously that means he's going to be more susceptible to counters, but it'll be more entertaining, and it means that he's, like I said, he's using his confidence to an advantage, and if he is confidently boxing against Falcao, then possibly that might frustrate Falcao or just irritate him, because he feel like he might not be getting the respect that he does deserve. But I don't hate that, and the confidence is something, of course, going into these big fights that any fighter is going to need, and so the confidence style is probably going to play into that. Gualtieri, he's not got the best of movements. I mean, like I said, he imposes his size. In this fight, there's not really much of a size difference from what I've seen, so he's not really going to be able to do that overly, but he's not got the best of movements. He's quite a low output fighter, can struggle to up the tempo at times, doesn't sit down loads on his shots. That's why he's not got a mad KO ratio. I mean, some of his early fights he's getting KOs just from doing the slightest things, because he's not really fighting any good opponent early on. But he's probably, in my opinion, this is a big step up, and maybe not a big step up, but a step up for both opponents, and so that's something I like to see, them both moving at the same pace and being at a similar point in their career when they're fighting, and of course both being unbeaten. But I think Gualtieri's low output could also be something that might play into Falcao's hands to an extent. But let's speak about Falcao. He's a southpaw. He has a power advantage. He does hit very hard. He's got sharp, clean combinations. Sits down on his shots. Knows how to close out the show. He's attacking, slick, counter. He's fast, always throwing, and has a high output. And so, to an extent, the opposite to what Gualtieri is. So, stylistic-wise, it's not a bad matchup here. But I really do like Falcao when he is being having his confidence and showing us his clean combinations and showing his attacking ability. Then it is good. His defensive wise, he's not crazy, but I like his counters. They're good. He can fight off the back foot, and he can fight off the front foot as well. And so I think he's got more diversity about him than possibly what Gualtieri does. And the fact that he's always throwing is going to mean that points wise, even if he is in Gualtieri's home country, he is going to be racking up the rounds. If Gualtieri's just not throwing and maybe starting a little bit slower, it means that Falcao is going to be racking up the rounds just from having that higher output. Falcao, though, in my opinion, he's probably a bit late to a title shot. I feel like there was a time where he probably could have and should have had a title shot earlier, but didn't, and he's kind of gone the long way around, and now he's at this point. So, you know, he's still managed to get one. It's just maybe, I wouldn't say past his peak, but just past the point where he was this big up and comer, or maybe the hype has gone down a little bit and momentum might have been slowing down. He can be a bit wild at times, means that he does get more stoppages, but means he is more susceptible to big shots. But I don't know if Gualtieri is going to be loading up with these big shots to counter with. He tries to force a stoppage at times, and so it'd be interesting to see how Gualtieri's chin gets tested. And he also does have a bit of a weak guard, so Gualtieri might be able to pick up a couple of his own shots and land a few of his own, and maybe to an extent control the jab a little bit. But I think Falcao might be trying to close the gap straight away and not let Gualtieri control the fight, and that's what I'd say and would think the game plan would be and should be. Falcao hasn't fought in over a year, so of course he's going to have a bit of ring rust. To an extent, he's had a bit of ring rust for the past few years, to be honest. I think I saw a stat where Falcao's only fought once every 8 months. That's like his average in the past 5 years, so he hasn't been overly active, and so that's of course going to play a factor. Gualtieri of course has been the more active and is been fighting more regularly and is at obviously or possibly the peak of his career, depending on if he wins this fight or not. Falcao is the favourite for this fight, and I think that Falcao will win via TKO in round 6. I think if he fights like he can and like he should, and does close the gap and does hit them hard, clean shots and sit down on his shots and hit with them combinations, then I think he's going to know, and being in the similar positions before, to be able to get somebody out of there. And like I said, it'll be interesting to see how Gualtieri gets tested and if he can survive the test. But I think Falcao, in my opinion, is going to be too much and get this world title, which, like I said, might be a little bit overdue, but eventually he has got it. And I mean, this fight is for the vacant IBF title. I believe Golovkin was the person who held the title, and of course now he doesn't, and so there was the possibilities of Golovkin fighting Falcao. That was the mandatory and what was supposed to happen before Golovkin vacated, so you know that was always going to be the fight. I think that would still be a good fight if it happens. I don't know if it will or not. Berlanga could be another good fight as well. Depends on where Falcao wants to go. If he wants to stay at middleweight, go up to super middleweight, or go down. But I think Berlanga could be a good fight as well at similar points in their careers. And also for a title, which might be an easier fight to make if Berlanga's wanting a title and somebody like if we were looking in the super middleweight division or the middleweight division, somebody like a Munguia or a Benavidez or like a Canelo isn't an option, then somebody like Falcao could be that big fight that Berlanga and Eddie Hearn might want for him. Or Morel, if Benavidez doesn't end up happening versus Morel, that could also be a good fight as well, and that big test that everybody's wanting to see Morel get. And so yeah, that is it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed. Like if you did, like this, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.